What if the spark plug sitting in your engine right now, the one you never think about, the one buried under your ignition coil that you assume is fine, is quietly destroying your engine every single time you turn the key? That sounds dramatic. I know. But stay with me for just a moment. Spark plugs are one of the most overlooked components in engine maintenance. Most drivers don't think about them until the check engine light comes on, or until the car starts misfiring, or until fuel economy drops and they can't figure out why. And by that point, the damage is already happening. Misfires don't just feel rough. They dump raw, unburned fuel into your exhaust system, they overheat your catalytic converter, and over time, they cause carbon buildup on your pistons and cylinder walls that shortens your engine's life. And here's the part that will genuinely surprise you. A lot of that damage doesn't come from a bad spark plug. It comes from the wrong type of spark plug installed in an engine that needed something different. So today we're going through every major type of spark plug: copper, platinum, iridium, and double platinum. What makes each one different at a technical level, which engines need which type, and exactly how to know if your current plug is hurting rather than helping your engine. Let's start with the most basic question. What does a spark plug actually do? Your engine runs on a cycle of compression and combustion. Air and fuel mix inside the cylinder, the piston compresses that mixture, and at precisely the right moment, the spark plug fires an electrical spark across a tiny gap, igniting the mixture and driving the piston down to produce power. That spark happens thousands of times per minute, in every cylinder, at temperatures that can exceed 3,000 degrees Celsius at the point of ignition. The spark plug has to survive that environment over and over again for tens of thousands of kilometers, and it has to fire consistently because one missed or weak spark means an incomplete combustion event. That's a misfire, and misfires are silent engine killers. The material the plug is made from determines how well it does that job and for how long. That's where the four types come in. Let's start with copper spark plugs. These are the original, the classic, the ones that have been in engines since the early days of the automobile. The center electrode, the part that actually fires the spark, is made of copper, with a nickel alloy coating on the outside. Copper is an excellent conductor of electricity. It fires easily, produces a strong, consistent spark, and transfers heat away from the tip efficiently. In older, naturally aspirated engines with distributor-based ignition systems, engines from the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, copper plugs were genuinely ideal. Those engines ran lower voltages, lower compression ratios, and the plugs were easy to access and change frequently. But here's the problem. Copper is soft. The electrode wears down quickly under the heat and electrical stress of modern engines. In a modern high-compression or turbocharged engine, a copper plug might only last 20 to 30,000 kilometers before the gap has widened enough to cause weak sparks and misfires. So, if your newer car came with iridium plugs from the factory and you replaced them with copper because they were cheaper, you just made a very expensive short-term decision. More on that in a moment. Where copper plugs still belong: older vehicles with low-voltage distributor ignition systems, classic cars, and certain high-performance applications where the driver is already servicing the engine frequently and wants maximum conductivity with regular changes. If your car is pre-1996 and the manufacturer specifies copper, copper is still the right call. Now let's move to platinum spark plugs. Platinum plugs use a small platinum disc welded onto the tip of the center electrode. Platinum is significantly harder than copper's nickel alloy coating, which means the electrode wears much more slowly. Platinum plugs are generally rated for 60 to 80,000 kilometers in normal driving conditions. But here's what most people don't know. There are two types of platinum plugs: single platinum and double platinum, and they are not interchangeable. Single platinum plugs have the platinum disc only on the center electrode. They were the standard upgrade over copper for many vehicles throughout the late 90s and 2000s, particularly for engines using standard coil pack ignition systems. Double platinum plugs have platinum on both the center electrode and the ground electrode, the little arm that hooks over the top. Why does that matter? Because certain ignition systems, called waste spark ignition systems, fire the spark plug in both directions, forward on the compression stroke and backward on the exhaust stroke. On a double firing system, if you only have platinum on one electrode, the unprotected electrode wears rapidly. Double platinum protects both sides. Put a single platinum plug in a waste spark system, and you're cutting its lifespan nearly in half. This is exactly the kind of mismatch that causes premature wear, inconsistent spark, and eventually misfires. And most drivers have no idea it's even possible to make that mistake. How do you know if your car uses waste spark ignition? If your car was built between roughly 1990 and 2005, particularly GM, Ford, and Chrysler vehicles from that era, there's a strong chance it uses waste spark. Check your owner's manual or look up your specific ignition system. This matters. If you're getting real value out of this breakdown, hit that like button right now and keep watching, because the next type of spark plug is the one that changes everything, and I'm also going to tell you exactly how to know when your plugs are quietly failing before any warning light ever appears. Let's talk about iridium spark plugs, and this is where things get genuinely impressive. Iridium is one of the hardest metals on Earth. It is 6 times harder than platinum and 8 times harder than nickel. The center electrode on an iridium plug is drawn down to an extremely fine tip, sometimes as small as 0.4 millimeters in diameter compared to 2.5 millimeters on a copper plug. That fine tip does something remarkable. It allows the electrical charge to focus at a single, precise point, producing a stronger, more consistent spark with less voltage required. Less voltage required means your ignition coil works less hard. More consistent spark means more complete combustion every single cycle. More complete combustion means better fuel economy, more power, cleaner emissions, and less unburned fuel washing down your cylinder walls. Because iridium wears so slowly, iridium plugs are rated for between 100,000 and 120,000 kilometers in most applications. Some manufacturers, like Toyota and Honda, have moved to long-life iridium plugs specified for 160,000 kilometers. That lifespan changes the economics completely. A set of iridium plugs might cost 3 to 4 times more than copper upfront. But over the life of the plug, they cost less per kilometer, they protect your engine better, and they eliminate the risk of misfires from a worn electrode. For any modern engine, especially direct injection, turbocharged, or high-compression naturally aspirated engines, iridium is not a luxury upgrade. It is the correct specification. If your car came with iridium plugs from the factory and you replaced them with copper or platinum to save money, here's what you need to understand. You may have just introduced your engine to inconsistent combustion events that are accumulating wear damage right now, quietly, with no warning light to alert you. Now let's talk about something equally important. How do you know when your spark plugs are failing, regardless of type? Your engine will tell you. You just have to know what to listen and feel for. The first sign is a subtle roughness at idle. If your engine has a slight vibration or stumble when you're sitting still at a traffic light, especially when the air conditioning is running, that is often an early sign of a spark plug that's not firing cleanly on every cycle. The second sign is hesitation during acceleration. You press the accelerator, and there's a brief pause or stumble before the power comes in. That delay is often a misfire event under load, a cylinder that didn't fire when it was supposed to. The third sign is a drop in fuel economy. According to the US Department of Energy, worn spark plugs can reduce fuel efficiency by up to 30%. 30%. If you're suddenly getting noticeably fewer kilometers per tank and nothing else has changed, your plugs deserve a look. The fourth sign is a hard start, particularly on cold mornings. If the engine cranks longer than usual before catching, that's often a sign the spark is weak and struggling to ignite a cold, rich fuel mixture. And the fifth sign, the most serious one, is an active misfire code, a check engine light with a P0300 series diagnostic code. P0300 means random misfire. P0301 means cylinder 1 is misfiring. P0302 means cylinder 2, and so on. If you're seeing these codes, the plug should be the first thing you inspect, along with the ignition coil and fuel injector for that cylinder. Here's the critical thing about misfires that most people underestimate. Every misfire sends raw, unburned fuel into your exhaust stream. That fuel hits your catalytic converter, which is designed to process exhaust gases, not raw fuel. The catalytic converter overheats, its internal ceramic substrate can crack or melt, and a catalytic converter replacement can cost anywhere from $800 to $3,000 depending on the vehicle. A set of spark plugs might cost $60 to $150. The math on that comparison is not complicated. Let me give you the simple guide to matching the right plug to your engine. If you drive a vehicle built before 1996 with a distributor ignition system, copper is likely your correct specification. Change them every 20 to 30,000 kilometers and you'll have no issues. If you drive a vehicle from the late 90s to mid-2000s, check whether your ignition system is waste spark. If it is, you need double platinum. If it uses coil-on plug, single platinum or iridium is appropriate. If you drive any modern vehicle from roughly 2010 onwards, and especially any turbocharged engine, any direct injection engine, any hybrid, your factory specification is almost certainly iridium. Do not substitute. Follow the factory spec and follow the manufacturer's replacement interval. And this brings me to the single most important piece of advice in this entire video. Do not wait for symptoms before replacing your spark plugs. By the time you feel a misfire or notice a fuel economy drop, the plug has already been degraded for a while. The damage to your combustion efficiency, your catalytic converter, and your cylinder walls has already begun accumulating. Check your owner's manual, find your specified plug type and replacement interval, set a reminder, and when you do replace them, always use the OEM specified plug or a direct equivalent, not whatever the parts store employee recommends based on what's in stock. I have seen this decision go wrong in very expensive ways. An owner running a turbocharged 4-cylinder who swapped to copper plugs to save $40 ended up with a failed catalytic converter and carbon fouling on 2 pistons. The repair bill was over $4,000. The root cause was a $40 decision made without the right information. Let's bring this home. Copper plugs, older engines, distributor ignition, frequent changes required. Platinum plugs, mid-generation engines, check your ignition type, single versus double matters enormously. Iridium plugs, modern engines, long life protection, the correct choice for the vast majority of cars on the road today. The type of spark plug in your engine is not a trivial detail. It is a direct factor in combustion quality, engine longevity, fuel economy, and the health of your exhaust system. Getting it right costs almost nothing compared to getting it wrong. Now here's what I want you to do right now. Go look up your vehicle's spark plug specification. It's in your owner's manual or a quick search with your make, model, and year. Find out what type is specified, find out the replacement interval, and find out when you last had them changed. If you can't remember, that's your answer. Drop a comment below and tell me what car you drive and how many kilometers are on your current set of plugs. I read every comment and I might feature your car in a future diagnostic deep dive. And if this video gave you information you genuinely needed, subscribe to this channel. Every week, we bring you honest, technical, data-backed car care content that helps you protect your engine, avoid costly mistakes, and make smarter decisions as a car owner. We'll see you in the next one.